Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be playing the World Series deck because the World Series in baseball is going on now. So we built a deck based on the two teams that are in the World Series, which are the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. So for the Blue Jays up top, we have a few blue cards. And I was planning on just having a couple blue cards and then a couple of J cards that started with the letter J. But it turns out there aren't any cards in Clash Royale that start with J, and there's only one that even contains it, and that's the Lumberjack. So we have a few blue cards and then a J card, technically. And I guess that means J is the least common letter in the game, because there's more cards with X and Q, with the Archer Queen and Earthquake, and more Z cards with Zap. So hopefully this works. Is a few blue cards and a J card, and then for the Dodgers we have a few cards that are able to dodge. These three, by going invisible, are able to dodge, and then the Bandit dodges while it's dashing. So that's the deck that we're going to be using today. And I don't follow baseball too strictly. I don't. Hey, we're up against another Josh, but there can only be one. Okay. But anyway, I don't follow baseball too closely, but because it's the World Series, I'm kind of watching it a little bit, following along it, and I think I'm rooting for... that was a bad Archer Queen, by the way. Actually a terrible Archer Queen. But I think even though I'm an American, I'm rooting for the Canadian team to win. I'm kind of wanting the Blue Jays to win just because it seems like they're the underdogs in this scenario. It seems like the Dodgers have been a really dominant team for a number of years. And I think they've won a couple of World Series. I think they've won a couple of times in the last several years. And so I'm kind of rooting for the Blue Jays just because I think they're the underdogs. I don't think that they're really expected to win. And I don't know if that's just something about human nature that is wanting the... I don't know why I went for the ability there. That just wasn't needed. Playing terribly, by the way, but I don't know if there's something about human nature that just wants the underdog to win just because it's unexpected or because it's, it's surprising. They're not supposed to win, so I don't know if this guy just gave up, but that's kind of who I'm rooting for, just because it would be cool to see them win their first championship in a while. And I don't know if anyone else notices this or just me, but whenever I watch sports, I kind of wonder why there aren't more automated ways of making calls, I guess, because in baseball there's quite a few times where you'll see the ball clearly pitched outside of the strike zone and the umpire will still call it a strike. Or, maybe it's clearly a strike and the umpire calls it a ball, and it doesn't matter how bad the call is. If that's what they call, then that's what the call is. So it's kind of entirely up to them to decide. And it's not like they want to... Obviously, they're not trying to make a bad call, because if they officiate a game really bad, the chances of them getting rehired for another game aren't high, but it just seems like more things could be done with a system, because in soccer they have that camera which can track a soccer ball and see exactly where it goes down to the very last pixel on the screen, and they can see whether or not it's a goal really easily. And I always wondered why they didn't have something like that for baseball or for football, because again, a lot of the calls that are made are, at least in my opinion, really obvious, and it's just whatever the referees call it is what it is. So again, I don't know if that's just my opinion or if other people feel the same way, but that's just something that I noticed. Because I was watching a college football game not too long ago. I think it was just last Saturday, so it would have been 3 or 4 days ago. And it was an Arizona State game. And I was kind of rooting for Arizona State because I live in Arizona, so I was like, all right, might as well root for the home state. And I don't know who they were playing, but there was a call where it was third down for the opposing team, and this guy ran the ball, and he very clearly got a first down. Like, he ran across, his whole waist was over the yellow line, and so it was pretty obvious to see that, yeah, he had gotten a first down, and the referees called it short, and then they ended up reviewing the play, and in the slow motion camera you could clearly see that, okay, he's across the line, but they still came back after that review and said, yep, after reviewing it, he was short of the line. And you could hear an audible gasp from the crowd, and I'm pretty sure it was in Arizona State, so the crowd, the call went in their favor, and yet it was still just shocking to see because it was just obvious to everyone that it was the wrong call. And I just wondered if there are cameras and systems in soccer that can see exactly where the soccer ball is. Surely we have the technology to have that in football, to see where the ball is and see whether or not it's a first down, or in baseball to see whether or not it's a strike or not. But it's still left up to the referees, and even if the call is terrible, and even if everyone can see it's wrong, it's still the call. And so that's just something that I noticed of. Maybe that's something that could be improved. Maybe we could have that, because humans make mistakes, humans make errors, and I don't know. Some things are probably okay if they're left to a machine or a system to do, just because it's a unbiased point of view, I guess. But anyway, let's see if we can maybe focus for the last little bit and win this game here. He's probably going to go hog any second, so we'll have our minions ready, and for some reason we'll just go Archer Queen in the opposite lane just to force out some kind of response. And then we'll go, I think he's just Earthquake cycling now. Hold on just 1 second. That's probably going to get a hit. We'll go with an E-Drag for the Skeleton Army. Okay, I didn't know that was... Yeah, I guess Electro Spirit hits invisible cards. I guess that makes sense. Anyways, didn't play great then, but that's usually how it goes. I didn't realize this until I started making videos, but it is a lot harder to talk and focus on the game at the same time, especially when I'm not great at talking. So I promise I'm not terrible at the game. It's just hard to focus, I guess, when you're also trying to talk and think of something to say. But anyway, that was the World Series deck. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon.